People ask me, are you against Islam? I said, no, I'm not against Islam. I like Islam because they're very clear-minded. I don't like Hinduism because they're all confused people. It's like Arjuna sitting, whether I shall kill my brother or not kill my brother, in the middle of the war. Till Krishna had to explain to him. When Karna chariot was stuck and he was bending down to fix the wheel, Krishna says, kill him. He said, how can I kill him? That is not, that's not Kshatriya-like. I mean, the man is bending over. So he said, yes, when he was taking the sari off your wife, that time where was the morality? Kill him now. So, I mean, the Hindus all the time, ye ho jayega, wo kya ho jayega. Somebody one day asked me that my wife is pregnant, and what happens if, because she had been through a nuclear reactor, what happens if the child is born with a twisted nose? Who will marry her? I said, then don't get pregnant, that's all. You say, you have to take risks in your life. So I am saying essentially this, that the Muslim, the day he accepts that his ancestors are Hindus, and he accepts it with pride, then he can be part of this Hindustan family. If he doesn't, then what does it mean? That his ancestors are Gori, Ghazni? What does it mean by that? So this is the one issue which needs enforcement for preserving our strategy, our heritage. I mean, people say, no, everybody has contributed, we are now a composite society. But anyway, Ganga is also a composite river. How many rivers go and join Ganga? But the Ganga's name does not change. It is still Ganga all the way down to the Bay of Bengal. You see? The essential problem in dealing with Islam, is its theology, which is very clear. You will find that when Muslims are in minority, what they demand, they will not agree to the minority when they are in majority. As a minority, they will want masjids to be built, they want azan to be allowed, they want their dadis to be grown, they want their marry 4 women, all these things they will demand. But if the Hindus of Saudi Arabia, and there are many because they have gone there as workers, they want to build a masjid, a temple, no, not at all. They want to celebrate Diwali, no, not at all. Want to do Satyanarayana Puja inside my house? No, not at all. And there is a punishment if you do it. You can't even carry Ramchandraji's photograph in your pocket while going to work. That is what they have there. So you ask a Muslim, in Saudi Arabia, they don't allow our mandirs, why we should allow you masjid? Well, before you ask that, there will be a case filed against you by the government under 153A IPC and saying that you are a communal person, stoking the fire, etc., etc. But Muhammad very clearly laid down 3 things. Laid down one very clear concept of the 3-part division of the world. He said, part 1, Darul Islam, where Muslims are in power and in majority. No minority. They should be either converted or killed. Very clear, at least in Sirah and Hadith it is extremely clear. Even in Quran it is there. That's the concept of kafir that comes there. Second, if the Muslims are in minority, but the majority is Rasgullah type, I mean it is not united, then we must go on agitating for more and more. First you ask for removal of the Uniform Civil Code, then you ask for reservation, you ask for more after that, ask for holiday on Friday. Go on making more and more demands. And the amorphous majority will go on yielding, and ultimately your idea is through love jihad, through infiltration, so on, to convert that into Darul Islam. This society, which is Muslim minority with a amorphous majority is called Darul Haram. And finally there is something called Darul Ahad, where Muhammad propagated the concept of Al-Taqiyah. And that was, he said, if the majority is united, then surrender for the sake of survival. Make any commitment. Let it be temporary, but make any commitment. In Australia, the majority is united. One day, Imam said, I am not happy with the Uniform Civil Code. So, what happened? The Prime Minister of Australia said, if you don't like Uniform Civil Code and you want Sharia, then go look for another country, because in this country you will not get it. Be absolutely sure of that. The next day, all Muslims organizations issued a statement saying that this mullah is a mad fellow, we have nothing to do with it, we are quite happy with Uniform Civil Code. In the United States also, Uniform Civil Code exists. I mean, there are all kinds of attempts being made, but I don't think it will come. So if the majority is united, they will fall in line. Where they are in majority, and that may be in a small place. In Kashmir, they are in majority. What help they have given to the Hindus there? Particularly the Pandit community. In Kerala, they are in majority in one district called Malappuram. Go and see how they treat the Hindus there. Hindus cannot, if the Hindus have property, they cannot sell to anyone but a Muslim. No Hindu can come and buy a property in that district. Sharia runs there. One professor wrote an article, was an English article, exam paper for punctuation marks. And he had lifted that article from a newspaper where some anti-Muhammad remarks were made. So the Sharia court in Malappuram passed a fatwa that his hands should be cut. And when he was going for a walk, his hands were cut. And he was not even a Hindu, he was a Christian. So, they are very clear. If you are majority, then Sharia will prevail. Even in a small area like a town panchayat in Tamil Nadu, where the total population of Muslims is only 5% in Tamil Nadu. There in the town panchayat near Bellore, called Mel Visharam, they are in majority. Go and see how they treat the Hindus there. Because their mind is clear. So if we want to preserve our country as a Hindustan, then we have to ensure and understand this. Do you know that the Saudi Arabia ambassador told me some time ago, and I checked and found to be true, that Saudi Arabia does not consider a mosque or a masjid as sacred. They demolish masjids regularly to build roads. How many people know this? I don't think anybody knows this. Recently in Makkah, the Saudi Arabian sheikh or king wanted to build a palace. So they looked over all the areas and found one area, very nice area, but there was a masjid there. It was the masjid which was called Bilal Masjid, where Muhammad used to read namaz. So the Saudi Arabian government issued an order, demolish it. So all the archaeologists and all that said, no, why at least this one you please leave. This is Muhammad, where Muhammad read his namaz. So the Saudi Arabian government issued another circular that such propagation, that this masjid should not be demolished because Muhammad read namaz there, is anti-Islam because it is tantamount to idol worship, and we will not permit it in Saudi Arabia. And they demolished it. Can we demolish masjids in our country? By the way, you cannot demolish temples. When I was law minister, I had a case in England where somebody stole a Nataraj statue from here and auctioned it there, or put it up for auction. So I sent our lawyers to argue the matter. We argued in the House of Lords that when a mandir is made or a temple is constructed, we conduct what is called as a Prana Pratishtha Puja. And a Prana Pratishtha Puja, where you fast for 41 days. God enters the murti. From that day, this temple becomes the owner of the temple becomes that God. I am only trustee. And this argument we used it this time in the Babri Masjid case in Ayodhya and the Allahabad High Court. And the Allahabad High Court has accepted this principle. The British House of Lords also accepted this and directed that the Nataraj statue should be returned back to India. So if a temple is built with Prana Pratishtha Puja, it has to be rebuilt. And it remains a temple even if there is no puja going on. I am telling you, all your Kashmiri Pandits, that all your temples will return one day. Because that is a fundamental right of yours. So I would say, first is identity. Then we develop a common language. And that ultimately has to be Sanskrit. We must do it the way Shankaracharya did with Pali. He went on introducing more and more. After he defeated all the Buddhist scholars and made them all Shankaracharyas and all that, he then started, the Shishyas wanted to ban Pali. He said, no, just go on adding Sanskrit words. And Pali one day became Sanskrit. It was all Sanskrit words only. So same way Hindi, go on adding Sanskrit words to it till it becomes Sanskrit. Sanskrit is now computer compliant language. So you want to preserve your heritage, learning Sanskrit is very important. What you NRIs can do here is see that your children get Sanskrit tuition. You yourself, if you can find time to learn it. Sanskrit, pronunciation, Sanskrit words produces vibrations in your body which makes a fundamental difference to your whole outlook. So this is another thing that we need to do. There are only two more things and then I will terminate my talk. One is, our heritage is our unique value system. You see, the Sanatana Dharma has given you the most stable outlook, an outlook which has produced the most stable society. Why is it that Julia Roberts came all the way and found happiness here? It's a question, what should be the attitude to the forces that are working in society. When I was a student at Harvard, my classmate asked me one day that, don't mind my asking you a question, but tell me why you Indians accepted Mahatma Gandhi as your leader. So I said, why, what's wrong with him? He said, the man is not properly dressed. How can you accept a leader who is not properly dressed? So I said, in your country, you have to have very well dressed leaders. He said, of course. And then I was now talking about 1962. He said, Nixon lost the election because he came before Kennedy without shaving his beard. You know, the 5 o'clock shadow was there and it was used against him. And if you go back to Theodore White's book on the presidential debates, you will find that this is mentioned as the reason why Nixon lost the television debate. All the leaders are very well dressed. You see Obama, his shoes are always shining. But our leaders, whether it is Mahatma Gandhi or Jayaprakash Narayan, simplicity in dress has become important. Same thing with the religious leaders. Look at the Pope. He's always in satin gown with diamond necklace, ruby necklace, etc. His cap is full of jewels, you see. But our greatest saints, they have only one piece of bhagwan around them, you see. The coarsest possible cloth. And they are the most venerated. And so our society never disapproved of wealth acquisition or material prosperity. But it always said that one, it is not the determinant of social structure. And two, that you must always strive for material prosperity harmonized with spiritual advancement. This philosophy we have to bring back. You want to go corruption to go? Why is corruption taking place? It's because of greed. It's because people think that if you have money, you will have social status. That is the reason why there's corruption. That is the reason why in ancient India we didn't have corruption. If we are able to inculcate this, that money is not everything. I feel sad in a way because when I went the other day to the IIM Ahmedabad to give a lecture to students, very bright students, and asked them that you did all this competitive exam to get into IIM, why? And they all said without exception that we wanted to get a good job. I said, you mean you are not interested in inventory control, finance theory, marketing theory, and you didn't come for that, but you came because you'll get a good job? I said, well, that's the only reason we came. And once we get an IIM, MBA chop on us, then our dowry will also go up. Well, you can see that in the matrimonial columns. Say, wanted MBA. Everybody forever. So there, I am saying, therefore, you want to preserve Indian heritage, then please develop this outlook that making money is not an end in itself. Yes, you can make money. Once you have enough, then donate, make somebody else's life better off, and don't regard a person highly only because he has money. If he has got character, he's got values, he lives simply, then respect him. The final thing I would say is that all this heritage has meaning if you can defend it. We could not defend our heritage. The reason is that our heritage itself was at fault. Because our method of fighting the wars were meant for civilized people, and uncivilized people came. And we couldn't meet them. Once they learned our ways of fighting, they changed. Originally, all these people in Sindh and all were beaten up. And in fact, the first defeat Islam suffered was in Sindh from the Chalukya kings of Gujarat. So, what happened is that we had rules, which are highly civilized rules for warfare. And that is that war will not start till the sun rises in the morning. And the moment the sun sets and there is ceasefire, go back to a tent and go have a good night's sleep. And then wake up in the morning, have a bath and all that, and then come to fight. Second rule was that you will not fight in city population centers and agricultural fields. It will be fought, all the fighting will be in an open Maidan, like Kurukshetra. When Ravan had to fight Ram, he came out of his fort to fight Ram into the open Maidan. He didn't say to Ram, you come inside, I'll see you then. So that is the rule of war. And third is that if you are defeated and you express regret, then return everything and say goodbye to him. Muhammad Ghori was forgiven, I don't know how many times. Some say 16 times, some say more than one itself was bad. Yes, 17 times. 17th time he won, I'm told. So anyway, this forgiving attitude. So that was not suitable. The first king to recognize that this method of warfare will not work with these people was Shivaji, and that's why he was victorious. And in the past we did not recognize. Today we do not recognize what the opponents of India, in what way they are fighting you. They are fighting you through the mind, by telling you wrong history, by making you pessimistic, by making you despondent, by making you think that, there's no hope for the country. So if you want to fight, you have to get a new mindset. And mindset is very important, I'm telling you. If we are 120 crore people, that's no big deal if your mindset is not right. There are 1,000 goats in one place, one tiger comes, the majority is with the goats. But who will run? It will be the goats which will run. And strength also is not enough unless your mindset is there. In a circus, there will be 5 lions in a pen, and a thin, wiry ringmaster will walk in, and then he'll crack the whip and he said, climb up. They'll all climb up on the bench. Then he said, open your mouth. They'll all open their mouth. And he'll put his head in each one of them. Why don't the lions kill him there? Because they've been brought up from the time of being a cub to obey him. Even though the lions have so much strength. So many times people ask me, you see, why this Manmohan Singh cannot stand up to Sonia Gandhi? He has got the power of the Prime Ministership with him. So I told them that he is like a circus lion. He doesn't know his strength. And incidentally, in Sanskrit, the lion is called Singh. So he is a Manmohan Singh, but he is a circus Singh, you see. That's why he is not able to do it. So I am saying that this mind is extremely important. And therefore you must know, we cannot anymore not retaliate for attacks on us. Kashmir, you see, 500,000 Kashmiri Pandits have been driven out from their own country and living in refugee camps or in other forms of misery. Now we should have retaliated. People ask me, what retaliation? Send the Pandits back? No. They sent 500,000 out. You send double that number, 10 lakhs of ex-servicemen. Because we got 1 crore ex-servicemen, of which 50 lakhs are even today fighting fit. Let them settle that position there, clean up the place there, so that then the Kashmiri Pandits can go. Today there is a cry for Pannun Kashmir and some colony and all that, but they have to be then treated almost like a enclave, as a concentration camp. That's too much. You break the back of this mentality. And nobody can complain. The other day I went to Srinagar, they asked me, what about 370? I said 370 has already been declared dead letter because the militants drove out the Kashmiri Pandits. They said, how does that affect T370? I said 370 was brought in as a temporary measure, of course, only for the purpose of ensuring that the religious demography or religious composition of Kashmir is not altered by migration. When you have driven out the Kashmiri Pandits, you have altered the democratic term. So therefore there is now no reason. In any case, 370 is a temporary measure. It's the only article in the constitution which does not require a parliamentary 2/3 majority to amend it. All it requires is a presidential notification which has to be drafted by the cabinet. I can assure you that I'm pretty sure that there will be a new government in the end of the next election. It will be the NDA government. I suppose that I should be a part of that because Janata Party is a member of that. And I can tell you that Article 370 is the first one to go. Yeah! And this is not I'm telling you here. I went there and Srinagar also said it. They asked me, what about plebiscite? I said, plebiscite was promised by Jawaharlal Nehru. It was not a cabinet decision. So you ask Jawaharlal Nehru to give you. So one pressman said, this is not a joking matter. You tell us how we can meet Jawaharlal Nehru. He said, ask any terrorist to arrange for your trip. And I was surprised to see, this is a very large meeting. Yeah, I held it in in a hall in Lal Chowk, and then when I came on the footpath, the press was there, I addressed the press at the footpath, you see, and all the people who came to attend, and they were all Muslims. My party, my office, unit, Janata Party unit is also all of Muslims. They say only one thing: you remove this uncertainty in our mind that India will not give up Kashmir. I said, why the doubt? He said, the terrorists are saying, like India gave up on Pakistan, India will also give up on Kashmir. You remove this uncertainty and we will like to stay in India. We don't want to go to Pakistan. It's a hopeless place for us to stay. So, it's a question of being able to enforce it. Bangladesh has sent 1/3 of its population into India. They have converted districts after districts into Muslim majority districts. Now we put up fences, then somebody pays money to the border guards and gets through. So what's the solution? The solution is to tell Bangladesh that we created Pakistan, out of which Bangladesh also emerged, on the grounds that those Muslims who do not want to live with Hindus should be given separate land. Now after you got the separate land, the Muslims have come back to live with Hindus. That means the principle on which we gave you land has been defeated. So since 1/3 of your population has come to India, either you give us 1/3 of your country or you take them back. Take your people back. And if you look at the Bangladesh map, there is a town called Sylhet, another town called Khulna. You draw a line and the land above it is 1/3. I asked the Indian Army chief one day whether he could. He said yes, in 1 week you just walk across, provided you can ensure that it doesn't invoke the Chinese to come down. That of course is part of the diplomacy that we have to think. But ultimately these are the kind of solutions we have to work on. We have to ensure that if the Hindus are attacked or your heritage is attacked, you will retaliate. I have already said in a number of places that if there is an alternative government of the NDA, and I'm part of it, I will work for seeing that based on what the Saudi Arabians have said, that Vrindavan, Kashi Vishwanath and Ram Janmabhoomi, the masjid there will be removed and built somewhere else, and these temples will be restored back to the original temples. And the same thing will go for Kashmir. So these are some of the ways of thinking by which you can define. You need that identity concept, then only can be clear. If you think in vague terms of Indian and a new republic and all, no. You must think of yourself as the ancient Indian tradition. You must be able to communicate with all your fellow men, for which Sanskrit is the best, because Sanskrit vocabulary, by the way, is there in every other language. Even the Sanskrit haters have to accept it. So Karunanidhi one day argued with me on Sanskrit. It's a foreign language. I said, then how come your name is Karunanidhi? Because Karuna and Nidhi are both Sanskrit words, You take out the dictionary of Tamil, you will find over 40% of the words are common to Sanskrit. So, Sanskrit, 90% of the words in Kerala, Malayalam, 90% Bengali, they are Sanskrit words. And therefore, the vocabulary is already common too. So, these are some of the commitments you have to make. And you living in this country can also do it. And you should see that you develop a value system which is not purely materialistic, but follows the Sanatana Dharma line. And that you decide to be a new Virat Hindu, not one of these Sattvic Hindus who speak goody languages, you see. Okay, so this is what I want to say. Thanks.
Webcast going on, so I have one question from Ankit Monga from California. He was asking that the recent intercluders report, they are saying that they want to have twin cities in Srinagar or in Kashmir. So what is your idea, or how do you think about that?
You see, if the present circumstances, the Kashmiri Pandits were to go back, they will have to live in a kind of prison-like situation. You see, they must be able to move as freely as the Muslims of Kashmir. For that, we have to have a different approach. I don't think that this... there was a time when psychologically the call for Pannu Kashmir had a lot of appeal. But today, the idea is to get back the whole of Kashmir, including that portion which is presently under the occupation of Pakistan. And you will get a chance, because now Pakistan's new Prime Minister and others, they are all nominees of the Taliban. And therefore, Taliban control of Pakistan is now going to come very shortly, which means there will be a war with India. That is the war you should prepare for, and that is the war in which you can set right all these borders. And we already have today an appeal from Karzai in Afghanistan that please send Indian troops to Afghanistan. And if the government of India is intelligent enough to send it, then we can, and from Afghanistan, Balochistan is next door, and we can play havoc with Pakistan. There are lots of opportunities coming, and history is full of opportunities. Never, the Jews were demanding Israel from 1897. They only finally got it only in 1947. You see, so therefore, nobody should give any hope. The Kashmiri Pandits are the original inhabitants of Kashmir, and they should be restored to that position, and not to live like in a zoo, in a cage. In the case environment.
There's a question.
Next, India government, can we assume Modi, Narendra Bhai Modi as the Prime Minister and Rahul Gandhi as the Home Minister?
Rahul Gandhi. Well, I can't talk about who will be the minister, but certainly almost everybody thinks that Modi should be projected as the Prime Minister. That there is not much dispute. Well, we are part of the NDA, and already people think that Modi and I are conspiring to take over the whole establishment.
What is being done to prevent the conversion from Hindus to Christianity in eastern states of India?
Well, it's not an easy thing to do, but I must say RSS and Vishwa Hindu Parishad are voluntarily taking a lot of steps, not only to prevent it, but also to reconvert a lot of people who are there was a meeting of the Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha of all the prominent sadhus of India, which I also attended, where it was a resolution was passed that what they call as the Ghar Vapsi program. That is, if a Muslim reconverts to Hindu, it is not conversion, it is coming back that they were forcibly converted, which is against the law, and therefore they are coming back. So that these programs are going on, but ultimately the governments of the day are encouraging conversion to Christianity and in some places even Islam. So therefore, we have a battle going, but if the Hindus can unite and vote, Hindus are 80%. We don't know the latest census figure. The last census figure put it at 83%, so I'm saying, all right, let it be 80%. Half the Hindu population of India unites and votes for the sake of Hindus, then you will get absolute majority for the NDA. So therefore this is in your hands, and what we can do we will certainly be doing. But I think ultimately you need a government to put an effective end to this.
Will you make Sanskrit compulsory for all schools, colleges?
I think that is almost happening. Before making it Sanskrit compulsory, we should make it as an optional language, because Hindi will be the compulsory language. and mother tongue, and an international language, which is English. Most people would prefer English. And Sanskrit should be made as an optional language. You should give some incentives that those who learn Sanskrit will be given liberal scholarships for the program they are attending. Like that we can see, but slowly the convergence of Hindi and Sanskrit should take place. Yes, sir.
How people who are living outside of country, and especially youth, can change the structure of government next law? How it can happen?
In this, you see, because I myself tweet, so I know what a lot of bright suggestions come from these people. So consequently, I think sitting here, you can certainly through the social media make a lot of difference. Second thing is that the preservation of heritage here that should take place. Because the American system is so good that if you are not careful, they will completely homogenize you, and you will then, you will disappear as a community. So for that, the thing I would advocate to you, the one thing that you should do is make people learn Sanskrit. You will see automatically it will generate a process by which people will become cognizant of their own cultures and preserve it. Sanskrit has that power.
What can we do from here? You bring the
No, your good wishes are there. There are temples you can go and pray. But I think we are well looked after. I can do one thing. Recently the NRIs got together, and I wanted Mr. Rahul Gandhi claimed that he had got a degree from University of Cambridge. And I found when I went there, his name is not there in any register. Now they're claiming that he got the degree in a false name for security reasons, called Raul Vinci. So I'm having that investigated. I needed some money for that, and the NRIs gave it. So similarly, Rollins College in your Florida, Winter Park. Rahul Gandhi was there for some time. If you can find out from there who paid his tuition fees from which bank. I'm told it was paid from a secret account in Cayman Island. If that you can get, I can send him home after that. These are the kinds of things where you can help, because this is vital information and it is against the Constitution.
Dr. Swamy, I know 1978 you were having a mission with China about getting back our land, and you're quite successful. You made a lot of friends in the Chinese.
Yes, I'm still friends with them. They've invited me on 27th, 28th June.
We were so close of coming to a conclusion of
that's right. That's right.
But our government, for some reason, we don't even look towards China. We are so scared about something looking recently at the Ladakh incident.
Yes.
Our 80% or 90% of our policies and our foreign policy, defense policy is just to contain Pakistan, and nothing we do about the China, and not a China-centric policy. So, will you emphasize that should it be more about a China-centric Pakistan is a big problem? If you are well prepared for China, then Pakistan can be taken over any day.
Yeah, sure. I'm not too see. First thing you must do is make a distinction between foreign policy and defense policy. Defense policy has to be based on the capacity of your opponent. And if he's built a huge military machine, you must also match it, irrespective of whether you're friends with them or not. So that's only looking at capacity. Foreign policy, you look at the intention of the other side. If the other side wants to be friendly with you, then you respond. So what Jawaharlal Nehru's mistake was that the Chinese professed to be friendly to you, so he didn't develop the defense at all and sent our troops on tennis shoes and on cold rations and things like that. So never let down on the defense preparedness. And I'm telling you, China is not all that strong because they have to come through the whole of Tibet. It's a long supply line. And if you have a strong air force, China will not be able to support these. This time also, our media did too much scaremongering. But ultimately, how many soldiers came? 40. We surrounded them. Why they came, that's a different matter. That's what is the matter of worry. Why they did this. But they were no threat. There was 40 were surrounded by people, and then having surrounded them, then question is how to kill time. So the Chinese soldiers requested our soldiers to sing Hindi film songs, which our soldiers sang for them, you see, and played them. So there is a problem going on in China between the People's Liberation Army, the defense forces, and the political forces, because so far the political forces have kept the defense under control. Now the defense has become very powerful. They have got a lot of new weapons and because of prosperity of China. So they are asserting. So we have got to see how to play this carefully. And need not run into a confrontation with China. In fact, China today is very much concerned, is discussing with us the fact that terrorists from Pakistan are going to Xinjiang and creating trouble. So it's possible in the future that the Chinese may be on the same side as you as regard Pakistan. So we have got to play this carefully, but at the same time we should not let our guard down. Yes, sir.
Very simple question to you, Doctor. How we can thank you for this enlightening talk?
How can we?
Thank you.
Thank me. Don't worry. I'm doing this for the God. I'm not.
One last question.
Doctor, are we doing anything against Akbaruddin Owaisi for the comments that he made against Hindus?
I think he's in jail, no?
No, he's out.
He's come out of bail.
He's on bail.
Is he?
The case going on?
Yeah, case is going on. No worry. He's also become silent, and he has a lot of other problems now. He has a serious health problem.
On this section, what is being done for Shafiqur Rahman?
Who's he?
He walked out from Parliament when the Vande Mataram was being sung.
Oh, him.
Yes.
You want me to worry about those things? I will make him walk out of the country if we have.
Support him.
I don't know whether Muslims support him.
Muslims supports him and supports his act of.
No. See, there are lots of Muslims. Now, I'm not one who says terrorists are no religion and all that. It's all bakwas. I don't believe in that. Certainly that religion promotes this kind of activity. But a large number of Muslims in India now know, and I'll say Muslims in Pakistan. Now, the intellectuals of Pakistan are openly speaking that very soon we may have to come as refugees to India. You see, because the Taliban will finish them. So, I think, you see, he has been condemned and no one has come to his defense. I have not seen any prominent Muslim leader saying that he did the right thing. And let me tell you that Vande Mataram, only 4 stanzas are sung in Parliament. And furthermore, it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly as an alternative national song. Four stanzas of 4 verses of the portion about Durga and all comes in the later. The first 4 there is nothing. So that Muslims voted for it in the Constituent Assembly. So what he did is we can't prosecute him because this is an act inside Parliament. But whether a resolution should be passed unseating him, that remind me by email in July, and I'll see what can be done.
Yeah, on behalf of South Florida Hindu Community, Kashmir Hindu Foundation, we would like to thank Swamiji, who came all the way from India and had a very good talk here. We are all, हमारे में जोश आपने भर दिया है, हमारी रगों में पानी था मगर अब लहू में परिवर्तित हो गया है।
माता के जोर से यार।
Oh, now one for here.
Video recording or